Okay, this week we're back with another interview podcast. We get a chance to sit down with lots of people, but this one is a little different. The topic for this week is about body composition. And the reason why I've asked our guest today to join is that during our regular coach check-in call, something I do with all of our athletes at least once across the season, the conversation of body composition came up. And it was really interesting to hear a couple key things. One, how our guest prioritized body composition as recommended by Endurance Nation over other training modalities. Two, how our guest identified an area that he wanted to work on. And three, how he researched what he was going to do about it. I really appreciate how he took a good benchmark of him to start with. I don't want to give it all away. And then followed steps to achieve that benchmark. He's very balanced in his approach, but deliberate as well. I think there's good lessons learned in here for everyone about making smart and intentional decisions around your body composition in a precise and hopefully sustainable manner. Many people will modify their diet or make changes to nutrition with the hopes of performance gains. But I think sometimes they're approaching it from the macro level, not from the best possible way, right? They're just looking at an end and, how to get to this point, right? So there's rules to the game. The fastest in this event is not the person who just goes straight and cuts off the course, right? You need to stick to the roads. Your body has demands. You have exercise goals. We have to listen to your ability to change your inputs. All of these things matter. We've got workouts to deal with, etc. So finding the right system has to be livable. And I think livable is going to be my new word out of this podcast that specifies just how practical something needs to be for us to be able to implement it as well. So a really deep podcast. I have some genuine questions of my own that you'll hear throughout the podcast. But if you have your own, you can reach out to our guest through the team chat or on the team community site as well for more details. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy this podcast. It's super fun. I'll catch you guys on the other side.
Endurance Nation.
Hey there, everyone. Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation, back with another member interview podcast. Now, more often than not, the interview podcasts that we do are about the person, about the story, about their journey. And this one is slightly different in that we're going to be talking with our guest today a little bit about how he tackled the problem of body composition through using different methodologies, essentially fast-tracking his path to results. And hopefully in this conversation, you're going to learn one or two things that might help you make a positive change in your body composition, understand better how you can sort of evaluate and decide, is this working, is this not working, which is the best option for me, and then also figuring out how it fits in timing of your season as well. So there's a bunch of different options. So we got a lot on the plate to tackle today. Literally, I said plate. I can't believe. Clearly, I'm hungry in this diet conversation. Body composition, not diet. I don't want to say diet. It's a bad word. But I'm pleased to welcome Brad Cline of the podcast, hanging out on the southwest coast of Florida. How you doing, Brad?
Yeah, good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing super, super well. I'm trying to eat like a healthy Kind bar right now. My dashing around piece. I think right now I'm up to like 6,000 steps today, and I haven't even done a workout just because I'm going upstairs and downstairs in my house, back and forth. But how are things going for you?
Good. Post Thanksgiving, so same thing. Trying to kind of recuperate from that and get back on the program and get focused again. So
yeah, that's definitely. I find that getting over that hump is hard, right? Or dip, whichever way people want to look at it. I call it a hump because I invariably gain some hump over Thanksgiving. Although this time was better because we were in charge of cooking our own food, so I didn't have to cook a bunch of the stuff that I wouldn't otherwise eat. But that disruption's hard to manage, for sure. Okay, well, can you give some perspective for folks, just sort of background for you athletically, so people understand, when we're talking about this body composition stuff, this kind of who Brad is.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Midwest. I was a very athletic kid. I think I played all the sports: baseball, football, soccer, cross country. As far as multi-sport, it really started when I got out of college. I was recently married and looking for something different. I actually signed up for Team and Training. Don't know if you're probably familiar with that. And and so I actually was going to do the marathon option, sport, but I saw the multi-sport option and it sounded interesting. It was new for me. And so I ended up doing that. St. Anthony's was my first.
St. Anthony's is a fantastic first race.
Yeah. And I guess the only caveat there is, given that swimming was the thing I needed to learn, that open water swim can be quite challenging down there
High
in Tampa Bay.
intimidation factor, yeah.
Yeah. But so after that, I did a bunch of short course, sprint, Olympic, natural progression. I think most people have. I did multiple half Ironmans, and then I started looking at and then Florida in that order. And maybe I probably should have reversed that. But my last one was Ironman Florida in 2010. And
Okay.
when we talk about body composition, I kind of use Ironman Florida as my reference because I think I was probably in the best shape of my life after that in 2010. So that's kind of my gold standard when I look at my weight and fitness and stuff at that period.
Hmm. Okay. That's super helpful. I really like the idea of sticking with your personal best as a mark,
Hmm.
right? I think a lot of times when people start getting into body composition, the first thing we think about is that desired outcome, right? Like, I hit my finish line when I'm, look like this or weigh this or body fat is this. Um, but it's always, since it's external, it's so hard, right? You don't make the same choices as that external, person or target or whatever it is. It's all related to you. So I'm a
Right.
huge fan of that. If you don't mind sharing, so when you say personal best numbers like that, what did that mean for you?
Well, in terms of the race, I've never really had a fast full. I think I was low 13s, but in terms of
Mm-hmm.
body composition, I was about 185 pounds. I'm just over 6 foot, and that just the weight I was carrying, I felt lean and
Mm-hmm.
fast for myself and healthy and no injuries. And
Mm-hmm.
so really, like I say, that's kind of my reference point for my makeup when I think of kind of optimal body
Mm-hmm.
composition versus performance.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And that's a good tension to sort of bring into the conversation here as well, is that there's certainly a sliding scale related to both
Hmm.
the numbers you want on the body composition side, but also related to performance as well. And for everyone who doesn't hit their targets, we have someone on the team who has, been wildly successful, and it can become an end in and of itself, which is, can often be detrimental relative
Hmm.
to, ability to recover and overall performance. Okay. All right. So that's a good baseline number for us to have. And I like how you sort of set the stage there in terms of how you work towards it. So you've got those numbers in your head.
Hmm.
Do you have them like written on your mirror or something like that? Or what is it for you
No,
in terms
no,
of how rigid are you so people get that understanding?
no. Again, that's just that was sort of my standard of my personal peak in terms of fitness. And uh, actually, I remembered when I watched your presentation on body composition, and you talked about that ratio, the height to weight, and
Hmm.
I think one of the things that really did it for me, I remember in your discussion. So, and I'll jump ahead a little bit. When I
Hmm.
started this kind of journey of body composition, I was 206,
Okay.
um, 206 pounds, and so that's about a 2.86 ratio. And I remember in your presentation, you were saying, I think it was if you're over 275 or maybe
Hmm.
28, your biggest bang for the buck as an athlete is to focus on body composition. You can kind of go do all the training in the world, training plans, but you're going to be somewhat limited in your progress. That your focus should probably be first on body comp. So
Hmm.
that just really kind of reemphasized that I wanted to look at that.
Hmm.
And really after that 2010 race, Ironman Florida, over the next 5 years, that is when I kind of put on all that weight. Life happened, right? Again, married, small kids, more responsibility in the job, kind of that major sliding scale you were talking about. And
Hmm.
so, I just really struggled to do anything significant with that weight gain.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
even if I were training, right, I would make small progress, 5 to 10 pounds, and even then it wouldn't stay off.
Can we, I want to hit pause right there so we can dive into that, right? So exactly. So you have sort of like your baseline, and typically people start a year, they're like, looking at sort of